Hello and welcome to Celebrity Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are the comedian Joe Pasquale, his specialist subject, the Planet of the Apes films. Grace Dent is a restaurant critic and author. She'll be answering questions on King Edward VI. Brand new Blue Peter presenter, Mwaksy, whose subject is the Gospel of Mark. And Robin Ince, comedian and presenter on Radio 4's The Infinite Monkey Cage. His subject, the young ones. And at this point, our celebrities might well be asking themselves, why did I volunteer for this? The black chair, the spotlight, the ticking clock, and the questions, and the possibility of humiliation. Or, of course, let's look on the bright side, everlasting fame for the contender who does become a celebrity mastermind. Let's find out who that will be after their 2 rounds of questions, first on their specialist subject and then on general knowledge. So let us ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
My name is Joe Pasquale.
Your occupation?
Comedian, actor.
Your chosen charity?
Is Prostate Cancer UK.
And your subject?
Planet of the Apes movies.
There are 9 feature films between 1968 and 2017. Here we go. In the first Planet of the Apes film, Charlton Heston plays an astronaut called Taylor, whose spacecraft crashes on a world controlled by apes in the year 3978. He realizes that he's actually on Earth when he discovers the remains of what iconic landmark?
Statue of Liberty.
Yep. The film franchise is based on a 1963 science fiction book, first published in the UK as Monkey Planet. What was the name of the French novelist who wrote it?
Pierre Boulle.
Yep. In Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Roddy McDowall plays a chimpanzee scientist who, with his wife Zira, escapes the destruction of Earth by travelling back in time to 1973. What's his name?
Cornelius.
Yeah. In Rise of the Planet of the Apes, what's the nickname of the female chimpanzee referred to as number 9, who goes berserk after she's given a gene therapy drug to cure Alzheimer's? The same nickname was given to Charlton Heston's character in the original 1968 film.
Bright Eyes.
Yeah. Which Oscar-winning actress plays the chimpanzee psychiatrist Zira in the original 3 films? Her character is brutally murdered in Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Kim Hunter.
Yes, in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, mutated human survivors of a nuclear war worship an atomic missile in an underground cathedral. The missile, described as a doomsday bomb, is named after 2 Greek letters printed on its fin. Which 2 letters?
Alpha Omega.
Yep, in the Planet of the Apes franchise, characters such as Dr. Zaius, Maurice and Honorius are often seen in positions of authority, such as judges or politicians, and all are a certain type of ape. What ape?
Orangutan.
Yeah. To quell a potential uprising in conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Governor Breck orders that a list is distributed to the police of every ape who's been guilty of disobedience. What is the name of that list?
Monkey List.
Ah, what a shame. You got them all right up until that point. No, it was the Achilles list. However, Joe, you have 7 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
I'm Grace Dent.
Your occupation?
I'm an author and a restaurant critic.
Your chosen charity?
Oak Tree Animal Charity.
And your chosen subject?
King Edward VI.
Edward VI, the Tudor king, Protestant reformer, died at the age of just 15. Here we go. Edward VI was born in 1537, the son of Henry VIII and Jane Seymour. At his christening, he was proclaimed as the Earl of Chester and the Duke of where?
The Earl of Chester and the...
Cornwall, I'll tell you. Right. At the age of 4, Prince Edward became ill with a mild form of malaria. This disease was known by what name?
Quartan disease.
Yes, quartan fever. Which treaty, signed on July the 1st, 1543, brought an end to England's war with Scotland and sealed an agreement that Edward would marry Mary, Queen of Scots? By the end of the year, the Scottish Parliament had declared the treaty void.
Pass.
After the death of Henry VIII, the executors of his will appointed Edward's maternal uncle as Edward's protector, and he remained in the role till he was overthrown by the Privy Council in 1549 and replaced by John Dudley. What was the uncle's name?
The Duke of Somerset.
Edward Seymour, Duke of Somerset, yes. Edward was crowned in Westminster Abbey in 1547. The Archbishop of Canterbury drastically altered the traditional coronation oath to strengthen the new king's powers so the English Reformation could be enabled by royal prerogative. What was his name?
Thomas Cranmer.
Yeah, which religious figure was denounced by Edward in a 1549 treatise as the true son of the devil, a bad man, an antichrist, and abominable tyrant?
It was the Pope.
Yes. Which religious text written in English was introduced into the church in 1549 at the same time as the Act of Uniformity, which abolished the Latin Mass in England? It sparked a major revolt against Edward's rule, known as the Western Rebellion.
The Book of Common Prayer.
Yes, the first Book of Common Prayer. You had one pass, that treaty signed on July the 1st, 1543. That was the Treaty of Greenwich. However, you have scored 5 points.
Thank you.
Well done, lovely.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Mwaksy,
Your occupation?
TV presenter.
Your chosen charity?
Zambia Orphans Aid, UK.
And your chosen subject?
The Gospel of Mark.
Gospel of Mark, one of the 4 Gospels, of course. In 90 seconds, here we go. The first event in Jesus' life to be described in the Gospel of Mark is his baptism in the River Jordan by John the Baptist. After he's been baptized, a voice from heaven says, "Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." And the Holy Spirit descends in the form of what bird?
The Dove.
Yes. In chapter 1, Simon, Andrew, James, and John become disciples of Jesus after his period in the wilderness. They go with Jesus to a synagogue where he teaches and heals a man with an unclean spirit. In which town?
Capernaum.
Yeah. In chapter 3, Jesus chooses the 12 disciples and gives the brothers James and John a new surname that means sons of thunder. What is the name?
Boanerges.
Yes. In chapter 4 of Mark's Gospel, Jesus tells the parable of the sower and compares the kingdom of God to what type of seed?
Mustard seed.
Yeah. In the temple in Jerusalem, Jesus watches people as they donate money and says that a poor widow who gave 2 small coins has given the most because she gave all that she had to live on. What name does the King James Version give these coins?
Denaries.
Mites. In the country of the Gadarenes, Jesus encounters a man possessed by many demons and casts them out into pigs, which then drown. The demons call themselves by what name?
Legion.
Yeah. In chapter 9, Jesus, Peter, James, and John climb a high mountain upon which Jesus begins to shine as white as snow. He's joined by 2 figures from the Old Testament. One is Elias, also known as Elijah. Who's the other?
Moses.
Yeah. At the Last Supper, Jesus foretells both his betrayal and that Peter will deny him 3 times before the cock crows twice. 2 of the 3 denials are subsequently made in response to questions from maidservants. Who do they work for?
The ruler of the synagogue.
The high priest.
Oops.
You had no passes, Mwaksy. You have 6 points.
Thank you.
And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Robin Ince,
Your occupation?
comedian and presenter.
Your chosen charity?
Maytree,
And your chosen subject?
The Young Ones.
The anarchic 1980 sitcom about 4 house-sharing students. Here we go. The scripts for The Young Ones were written collaboratively by 3 writers with additional material by Alexi Sale, Rick Mail, and Ben Elton, 2 of the writers. Who was the 3rd?
Lise Mayer.
Yep. Although the series is set in London, most of the location filming took place in another English city. Which one?
Bristol.
Yep. When the students contemplate a world without television in the episode Time, Neil is distraught. He says he will die if he misses a particular program. Which one?
Scooby-Doo.
Yes. Which actress plays an evangelical Christian who calls at the house and implores the students to repent and accept Jesus? When Rick says he doesn't believe in God, she replies then, "How do you know his name?" The same actress also plays the Easter Bunny in the second series.
Dawn French.
Yep. When Vivian enters a Narnia-like world through the back of a wardrobe, he meets a witch who offers him some Turkish delight, which he refuses. What food does he ask for instead?
A kebab.
Yeah. In the episode Sick, Rick plans to write to his MP to complain about Vivian's violence. When Neil points out that Rick hasn't got an MP because he's an anarchist, he says that he'll write to the lead singer of a Liverpudlian rock group instead. Which group?
Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yep. When the students appear on University Challenge, they face a team from Footlights College, Oxbridge, made up of dim, posh students, one of whom is played by Ben Elton. Frustrated by the way the quiz is going, Vivian stamps on his head. What's the name of Ben Elton's character?
Kendall Mintcake.
Yes, Vivian takes a pig to the television studio as a mascot for their appearance on University Challenge. When he's challenged by the studio commissioner, he initially claims that it's not a pig, but a ferret. What's the name of the pig?
Pig Ferret. Yeah, I can't remember the...
No, bacon sandwich.
Bacon
sandwich. When you think about it, what else could it be? You have scored, Robin, 7 points. A close round there with the specialist subjects. Let's have a look at all the scores. In fourth place with 5 points, Grace. Third place with 6 points, Mwaksy. Joint first place, 7 points apiece, Joe and Robin. So now it is the general knowledge round. And if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Grace to join us again, please.
Oh. It's a very long walk.
Grace, you are a restaurant critic. Now you're also MasterChef judge, of course.
MasterChef is the greatest job on television. You get to see Britain's brightest young talents and taste their food and make them cry.
Yeah. You're also a vegetarian close to being a vegan, I think, aren't you?
I don't eat a lot of meat at home. I certainly do not ever cook meat or buy meat at home.
So how do you judge a meal if you can't? Because, I mean, awful...
Oh, I mean, I do eat meat when I go out. I think I kind of have to.
But do you have to sort of grit your teeth and say, ooh, that's a bit of a steak?
Well, no, I think that the problem that animals have is that they are actually delicious. So this is the problem. I don't think eating meat will ever go.
Do you reckon?
Yes.
I bet it's dying out.
I think there's always going to be rebellious people that will always want a bacon sandwich.
I tell you what, I'll see you back here in 20 years' time, OK?
I'm never coming here again. I am trying to enjoy it. People say go out and enjoy it, and it's yet to happen. That's all I'm saying. It's just...
Settle down, relax, and here is 2 minutes of general knowledge questions. Starting now. München is the German name for which city?
Munich.
Yes, the title characters in the films Borat, Bruno and The Dictator are all played by a British comedy actor and writer. What's his name?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yes, a digital recording format launched commercially in 1982 reproduces sound by means of a laser beam and has a name that's commonly abbreviated to CD. What do the letters CD stand for?
Compact disc.
Yes, what title is shared by 2 BBC television adaptations, first shown in 1975 and 2015, of a series of historical novels written by Winston Graham? The character of de Melzer is played by Angharad Rees in the former and by Eleanor Tomlinson in the latter.
Pass.
The Flavian Amphitheatre in Rome, where gladiatorial games and other spectacles were once held, is better known by what name?
Pass.
Which long-running West End musical features the song Super Trooper, the name of the game, and the winner takes it all?
Oh, Mamma Mia.
Yep, the title of an 1841 novel by Charles Dickens is the name of the business owned in the book by Little Nell's grandfather. What's the title?
Great Expectations.
The Old Curiosity Shop. What term is used in horse racing for a tie between 2 or more horses for first place or for one of the other finishing positions?
Pass.
Which day of the week is named after Earth's natural satellite?
Wednesday.
Monday. The name surströmming for a dish of fermented herring, which is notorious for its overpowering smell, translates from a Scandinavian language as sour herring. Which language?
Sauerkraut.
Swedish. What line of fashion dolls created in the early 2000s as a rival to Barbie initially comprised Jade, Chloe, Yasmin and Sasha?
Cindy.
Brats. The male of a common species of duck is characterized by the bright green plumage on its head and its yellow bill, whereas the female has mottled brown feathers and a dull orange bill. Which duck?
Teal.
Now, the mallard.
Oh.
You had, Grace, 3 passes. A dead heat is when 2 horses finish the race
Okay.
together, yeah.
Right.
The Colosseum is the name for that amphitheatre in ancient Rome, and Poldark is the television show.
Of course.
However, you have now got 9 points.
Thank you so much.
And next up, Mwaksy again, please. Now, Blue Peter.
Yes.
The new presenter. What appealed to you about Blue Peter?
I think the activities that happens that we do. So one week I could be kayaking with young children who are deep diving and picking up litter from under the sea. And then another week I'm learning sign language. It's just so much fun. I'm loving it, yeah.
Yeah. And some people are maybe a wee bit surprised that Blue Peter is still attracting audiences among you. They're not, you know, just hypnotised by their smartphones.
No, not at all. I think just how many badges you can earn. So there's like a sport
still the
badge,
badges.
yeah, or a music badge, or you know you can go green and get a badge for that, or you write a poem, you can get a badge for that. And I just think it's amazing how it appeals to every and any child. So the sporty child, the music child. I think that's what keeps it really interesting.
That is good, isn't it? Anyway, you have 6 points. General knowledge. Now, 2 minutes of it. What's the name of the Olympic sport in which competitors use a bow to shoot an arrow at a circular target?
Archery.
Yeah. Which political leader tried to flee Italy together with his mistress, Clara Petacci, in April 1945? They were both caught and shot.
No idea, pass.
Which television comedy series, which began in 2019, is set in a large rundown property called Button House, inherited by a couple who aim to renovate it while they're surrounded by the spirits of people who have died there, including a caveman, a scout leader, and a romantic poet?
Flintstones.
Ghosts. The massive nerve fibres in the inner part of the brain is known as white matter. The tissue made up of nerve cells in the outer part of the brain is correspondingly known as what other colour matter?
Red.
Grey matter. Ziggy Stardust and the Thin White Duke were alter egos of which British singer?
No idea, pass.
What word for a very young child is derived from the Latin for unable to speak?
Toddler.
Infant.
Correct.
The 2005 comedy film Racing Stripes features an animal called Stripes who dreams of becoming a racehorse. What animal is Stripes?
Zebra.
Yep. A system of writing made up of pictorial symbols was used in ancient Egypt and has a name derived from Greek words for sacred and carving. What
Is
name?
it Arky something?
No, hieroglyphics. The songs Sweet Transvestite and Damn It, Janet feature in a musical written by Richard O'Brien, which was first performed at London's Royal Court Theatre in 1973. What musical?
The pass.
Which Dutch airline was founded in 1919? It merged with Air France in 2004.
Pass.
What word taken from the French is the name for the outer part of the peel or rind of a citrus fruit, which can be used as a flavouring or garnish?
Zest.
Yes, in March 2020, the Royal Mail increased the price of a UK first-class stamp by 6p. What was the new cost?
£1.10.
76p. An American former lawyer has written several legal thrillers that have been adapted into successful films, which include The Client and Runaway Jury. What's the name of the novelist?
Pass.
Well, I can tell you. John Grisham, it was.
No idea.
And your other passes, that Dutch airline was KLM. That musical, written by Richard O'Brien, was the Rocky Horror Show. Ziggy Stardust, Thin White Duke, alter egos of David Bowie, and it was Mussolini and his mistress who got shot in April 1945. You also now have a total of 9 points.
Yay! Thank you. I'll walk over here.
It's so lovely when it's over.
And now, Joe again, please. And, Joe, you are a comedian.
Yes.
In other words, you tell jokes.
Well, yeah, I try to.
That's becoming quite unusual to have a
Yeah.
comedian who tells jokes.
Yeah, a lot of political stuff out there, but it's stuff that I'm just not intelligent enough to be able to do that sort of gear, so I'd rather just fall back on what makes me laugh. I never took it too seriously, that whole thing. And then I just got on the telly just by fluke, really. And
Well, what was the fluke? How did it happen?
I just sent off for a joke to go on New Faces, 1987, and I won it. But I didn't have an act. I went out and mucked about, and everybody thought I had this act, and I didn't. And I
Isn't
found
it?
myself, you know, Royal Variety shows and meeting people.
Well,
and going...
I was going to say, you've done... How many times have you done the Royal Variety
6
Show?
times now.
Exactly. That's pretty unusual.
I don't think the Queen actually books them herself, though. When she comes down, there's a lot of protocol involved. You know, we have to say, Your Majesty at first, and after that you have to say, Mama's in balm, Mama's in jam. And I couldn't remember, was it Mam and jam or Mam and balm? So when she came, I kept going, Mam, jam, Mam, jam. And when she came along, I went, hello, jam, like that. Oh, no.
Right, let's get serious. You have 7 points. Let's see how you do with your general knowledge. Here we go, starting now. In March 1876, Alexander Graham Bell was granted a patent for what invention?
Telephone.
Yep. Tony Bennett had a UK hit single in the 60s with a song that includes the lyric, Where little cable cars climb halfway to the stars. The title of the song refers to which American city?
Chicago?
San Francisco. Which punctuation mark's written as a dot above a comma? It's often used to indicate a pause.
Apostrophe.
Semicolon. The English resorts of Whitby, Great Yarmouth and Margate are all on the coast of which sea?
The North Sea.
Yes. Who became the first Chancellor of a united Germany in 1871? He was known as the Iron Chancellor, and a famous Second World War battleship was named after him.
Pass.
In 2008, the EU awarded protected geographical indication status to a group of meat pie producers in Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire to ensure that only pies made locally and to certain standards could bear the name of the town. The pies contain what meat?
Pork.
Yeah. The Ptolemaic dynasty ruled a country in North Africa for almost 300 years until it was conquered by the Romans in 30 BC. Which country?
Pass.
According to Polonius in Shakespeare's Hamlet, what is the soul of wit?
The heart.
Brevity. The soundtrack to a 1977 film about a disco-dancing teenager spent 18 weeks at #1 in the UK albums chart and features songs by the Bee Gees, Tavares and Yvonne Elliman. What film?
Saturday Night Fever.
Yes. The Great Barrier Reef lies off the coast of which Australian state?
Queensland.
Yes. In the 2020 series of Strictly Come Dancing, an Olympic gold medalist boxer was paired with a professional dancer, Katia Jones. This made them the first same-sex competitive pairing since the show began in 2004. Which boxer was it? A type of unglazed reddish-brown pottery has a name that translates literally from Italian as baked earth. What name?
Pass.
The Pacific Ocean was given its name because of the peaceful waters experienced by a Portuguese navigator when he first sailed it in 1520. Which navigator?
Pass.
Well, I can tell you because your time is up. It was Magellan, Ferdinand Magellan. Your other passes, terracotta, is that pottery. Nicola Adams was the boxer in the Strictly Come Dancing question. The Ptolemaic dynasty ruled over Egypt. And von Bismarck, Otto von Bismarck. That's the name you were trying to think of.
That's him.
You have now, Joe, a total of 12 points.
Thank you, John.
And finally, Robin, please. Robin, the infinite monkey cage. Is it meant to make us laugh or meant to teach us stuff?
I think the most important thing is that you are fascinated by the end of it. And I think the laughter and the information come together. You know, Brian Cox is the brains, and I'm like a professional idiot. There are points when Brian's explaining, for instance, quantum entanglement, where as he gets very deeply into it, I can hear people going, this is beginning to hurt now. And so I go, perhaps some silly voices for a while. So there is a point where you can feel people are receiving an idea, and then they go, oh, I don't think I'm clever enough. And I see this in education all the time, the belief that scientists just have some very special brain. And when you've had to remind Brian Cox to continue crossing the road when he's halfway across because he started thinking about Jupiter, you know, there are some shortfalls as well there.
But you say you're an idiot. Of course you're not, because you clearly know a lot about the stuff you're talking about.
Well, I would say a lot of comedians, I'm not saying Joe, but we are broadly shallow. We are fascinated in lots of things, but we have no depth. So you go, oh, that looks fun, that's exciting. But so we can look like experts until the expert moves into the room.
In other words, you have an inquiring mind. Let's settle for that.
Let's see if I get above 7.
Well, you've got 7 at the moment, quite. So here we go. 2 minutes of general knowledge. In a common expression about family loyalties, it said that what fluid is thicker than water?
Blood.
Yes, which European dictator of the 20th century assumed the title El Caudillo, which translates from Spanish as the leader?
Oh, Toxith O'Grady.
General Franco, which ball sport thought to have originated in ancient Persia involves two teams of 4 players on horseback who try to score goals with mallets? It was revived by British Army officers in India in the 19th century.
Polo.
Yep. Which British band had a UK #1 album in '97 entitled Urban Hymns? It includes the top 10 singles, Bittersweet Symphony, The Drugs Don't Work, and Lucky Man.
The Verve.
Yep. What close-fitting garment, now commonly worn by dancers and gymnasts, is named after a 19th century French trapeze artist?
Leotard.
Yep. What name's given to the form of therapy in which certain areas of the body, particularly the feet, are massaged in the belief that this can cure ailments in corresponding organs of the body?
Chiropractic?
Reflexology. Marrakesh and Tangier are cities in which North African country?
Morocco.
Yep. The actor Nigel Hawthorne, who played the civil servant Sir Humphrey Appleby in the 1980s television comedy Yes, Minister, later earned a Best Actor Oscar nomination for his portrayal of a British king in a 1994 film. Which king?
King George III.
Yes. Love apple is an old name for what common salad ingredient?
Marshmallows.
Tomato. What name was given in the Soviet Union to the supreme policy-making and administrative organ of the Communist Party formed in 1917 for a period in the 1950s and 60s? It was known as the Presidium.
The Thingamy-Tat?
No, the Politburo. Chalk primarily consists of the carbonate of a metallic chemical element. Which one?
Chalk. Magnesium.
Calcium. A cartoon dog created by Charles Schulz has several alter egos that include a First World War flying ace and a college student named Joe Cool. What's the name of the dog?
Snoopy.
Yep. A major British manufacturer of bicycles is named after the street in Nottingham where the company was established in the 1880s and later developed by Sir Frank Bowden. Which company?
Raleigh.
Yep. Which planet in our solar system is named after the king of the Roman gods, the son of Saturn?
I can't not get this.
No, you've got to get it.
Oh, and my brain's gone so blank.
It happens.
Oh, my goodness, Jupiter.
Yes, you got
thank
it.
heavens.
Thank heavens, indeed. Wouldn't have been responsible
Once you get
for
one
you.
wrong, the whole thing falls apart, John.
Anyway, you got it. You got it. And what's more, you now have 16 points.
How did I not say calcium?
Well, he did it. Let's have a look at the final scores. In joint third place, 9 points apiece, Grace and Mwaksy. Second place, 12 points, Joe. First place, 16 points, Robin, which means that Robin takes home the trophy and is tonight's Celebrity Mastermind. And, Robin, I'll bet you across with one of those questions about chalk.
It's a fascinating thing. I've been so worried about this, and there's a bit that once you get one thing wrong, I can't hear the words you say. You just become a man going, and so I just thought, just say marshmallows, because that was an answer from the young ones.
Anyway, you now have that wonderful trophy just for you. Now, you don't have to be a celebrity to take part in the regular Mastermind programme. If you'd like to appear in the next series on BBC Two, you can apply online at bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. Either way, do join us again next time for more Masterminds, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.
It is really exciting to be Celebrity Mastermind. I'll take this on tour next time I go on tour with Brian Cox, and every time he takes out his CBE, to show that off, I'll just wave my Celebrity Mastermind trophy around as well.